Good afternoon, co-chairs, commission members. My name is Paul Jacob. I'm the president of Citizens in Charge. We're a national organization that supports the initiative and referendum process and would like to make it more accessible to people across the board, regardless of politics or partisanship. First, I did submit testimony. You should all have it. But I want to address the supermajority. The 55% requirement might sound good as a way to create more consensus, but what a 55% requirement means is that 45% plus one win. That's not good mathematics. In America, majority should rule, not the minority of the voters. And in my testimony, I cite a hypothetical example where citizens propose a reform measure, and maybe these citizens are not very well heeled, and maybe the powerful interests in this state are able to outspend them $10 million to $526.72. And maybe the people of this state would hear 100 messages against this reform proposal for every one message they heard in favor. If 54.9% of the people of Ohio then voted for this reform, it should not lose. The Constitution belongs to the people of Ohio. It is their way of setting the parameters for government. And that's why it's essential that that Constitution be open to the people and not held away from them. Majority rule, if you lose majority rule, you've got rule by a minority, and that means that powerful interests become more powerful. I want to address the statute versus constitutional amendment because, Mr. Asher, I think you're right that if this recommendation was simply to make what is an unusable, almost completely unusable statutory process usable, we would all be singing off the same song sheet and all be very happy. The fact that only one initiated statute has passed since 1949 really says that that process is not open and accessible to the people. Now, the safe harbor idea is a good one, and the 2/3 supermajority for 5 years is a good idea. It's a good start. I would go further. I'd suggest higher percentages, and I would favor even making it to where any change to a law that was passed by the voters has to be sent back to the voters. Under the 2/3, though, a lot of reforms, especially reforms, I've worked on term limits. They passed here in this state. They didn't pass because the legislature liked them. If you would have required, if that would have been a statute and you had a safe harbor provision that said 9/10 of the legislature has to rule against it for it to be struck down, I have no doubt that the legislature could have mustered that 9/10 majority. So a 2/3 majority on anything that upsets the legislature, which could be a whole range of things, is not a very safe harbor. It's a good thing to do for statutes, but the idea that somehow there's a trade-off here. In the report, in the minutes, it's mentioned that that was one of the goals, was to reduce the people's use of the constitutional amendment process in favor of the statutory process. Well, the statutory process, the legislature has an ultimate veto. If the legislature musters the votes, that statute's gone. And so the people have good reason, when they know it's something that the legislature's hostile to want to put it in their Constitution. And professors at universities may not like that, might say that shouldn't belong in the Constitution. Some people don't like, you didn't like the casino provision. I'm not big on casinos. I wouldn't want it in law or in the Constitution. But the people, I think, had every reason to want it in the Constitution. so that the fighting over it would include, they would have the ultimate say. A statute, the legislature has the ultimate say. A constitutional amendment, the people have the ultimate say. And that makes all the difference. So I would encourage sending this back. Hopefully you will have time. Hopefully you will fix the statutory process. But I would leave the constitutional amendment process alone. The idea of a 55% majority is a mistake. And I just wanted to address a couple of things. Nevada does require, it's the only state in the country that requires an initiative constitutional amendment to pass twice, both times by a simple majority of the vote, but passed twice. However, Nevada also requires their legislature, when they put an initiative or a constitutional amendment on the ballot that only has to pass once, they require the legislature to pass that amendment twice in two completely separate sessions of the legislature, meaning two separate legislatures. So that's just a little clarification on the reality of that. I guess the other thing is, the idea that was mentioned in California, that they wrecked their state financially with initiatives. But usually the initiative that people are talking about is Proposition 13, which of course California boomed for about 30 years after, or 20 years, 25 years after Proposition 13. And I point out that every single poll taken in California since 1978, when Proposition 13 passed, has found the people of California in favor of it. So again, stepping back, whether an amendment or a statute or any idea we come up with is good or bad is up to anybody's opinion. But whether it is valid is up to the voters. And whether it should be in the Constitution is up to the voters. And this idea of trading a better statutory process for the one that's just broken for a weakened constitutional amendment process, the voters are not going to go for that. That puts the legislature in a better position, and that may not have been the intent, but I submit that would be the reality, and I hope that you'll prevent that from going forward. Send this back. Let the committee that worked hard for 4.5 years, it sounds like, and hate to see all that work go to naught, but you created the basics of something. Let's get it right. And so I'd encourage you to send that back.
Thank you. Any comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that the issue before the commission be laid upon the table.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Madam Chair, can I suggest a quorum call first, though? I don't even know if we have a quorum. I believe we do not have a quorum.
We have 17.
22, quorum passes.
To change the,
17 quorum, oh, I thought it was 22. I withdraw the quorum.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Will the staff call the roll?
Senator Tavares? No. Rep. Deaver? Yes. Ms. Aberray?
I'm really sorry, I don't know what we're voting on.
Voting once again, third time to table.
This is different. I move to re-refer it back to committee.
Oh, we're just tabling. Okay, we're just tabling this motion now.
Yeah, it's basically
Okay,
killing it.
well then,
Thank you, and I apologize for that.
will you recall the roll, please?
Yes. Senator Tavares? Yes. Oh, is it yes?
No, we're not. No. It's postponed indefinitely, kind of table, not the other.
Okay. Rep. Deaver? Yes. Ms. Aberray?
Yes.
Mr. Asher? Yes. Mr. Beckett?
Yes. Only I hadn't made that motion.
Ms. Bell?
yes.
Rep. Clyde? Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Senator Coley? Oh, he's not here, sorry. Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Justice Fisher? Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Rep. Holmes? Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Senator Jordan, not here. Mr. Kerfis? Mr. Mills? Mr. Mulvihill?
Yes.
Senator Peterson, not here. Mr. Sapphire?
Yes.
Senator Skindle?
Could you call a question? What is the question?
Table.
Table what?
The topic, the proposal, the
The
motion,
proposal.
recommendation.
Sorry, too many people speaking. Madam Chair, what is
I'm sorry, the motion is to table the recommendation.
Yes.
Senator Sykes? Yes. Governor Taft?
Yes.
Ms. Talley? Yes. Ms. Trafford? Yes. Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Motion passes with one nay vote.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the discussion. There is another report that we need to,
We need to.
yeah, that's right. We had a report by Kathleen Trafford, and that one can't